Hi guys, welcome back to Urban Rhino Tutorials. Today I want to show you how to remove an object from your photo that you don't want to be seen. So this is very common when taking pictures. You're so focused a lot of times on the settings and looking at the person or the subjects and you kind of spaced the fact that there is something crazy in the background distracting from the subjects themselves. So for this particular one, I'm just going to show you how to remove the logo. I'm going to show you on two different photos so you can see what happens if you're removing one from a pretty solid background versus one that's a little more cluttered. So there are a couple different ways you can go about this. The simplest way to do it is to use your selection tool. The marquee tool here, not the selection tool, marquee tool. I will always call it the selection tool because I feel like I'm selecting something, but it's actually called the marquee. So if you select the item you want to remove, right click and hit fill. And if you fill this in, you want to make sure that content aware is the one that's selected at 100%. What it's going to do is it's going to try to take samples of all of the area around it to best fill in that area the way it thinks it should be filled in. So if you hit OK and then unclick it, so you can see it filled that area in nicely and it was like that logo was never there. So on this other photo, sometimes the selection tool, the ContentAware Fill tool will work. Sometimes it doesn't. So let's try it for this one and see. So again, I'm selecting my item, click fill, content aware, okay. So that one actually did a pretty good job of filling it in. If I wanted to remove an item from the background, so let's just pick one of these flowers. And what's going to happen is if I get closer and closer to Vivian here, it's going to start to sample some of her as well. So let me show you what I mean. Let's try this one here. If I click fill, okay, so you can see it pulled a little bit of her hair out there and it also took away that little stray that was missing. When I hit deselect, there's now a little chunk of her hair missing. So that looks kind of weird. So for the sake of that particular item, if I wanted that pink little flower on the backdrop out of there, what I would use is the clone stamp tool, which is about almost halfway down. It looks like a little stamp. Click on that, and the way you're going to use this, you can enlarge it by hitting the right bracket key on your keyboard to make your brush smaller, your stamp smaller. If you hit the left bracket, I think that is so much faster when you're editing a lot of pictures instead of going into the actual brush menu up here and selecting the size. So it's much easier to just toggle those like that. So get a size that you want. What you need to do is you need to sample an area around this pink flower that you want to use to cover it up. So for this one, let's say I want this kind of turquoise color in the background to cover it. I'm going to hit my Alt key and click on the area with my mouse that I want to sample. And then you can see now when I move up here how it's going to cover that with that. But I want to be careful. I'm just for the sake of this tutorial, I want to keep that little stray piece of hair there to show you how to work around obstacles like that. So if I click, 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 you can see the little cross that is coming up just slightly below and to the left of the circle. That is the area that it's sampling. So if I were to sample an area here and then move up here, you can see as I move closer to her head, it's starting to sample the area down here. And I don't want to, I don't want to replicate her hair up here. So you have to then again hit your Alt, the Alt key, while you left click on your mouse, find the area that you like, and again, do this. Now, the other thing I want to point out is my opacity is lower, depending on what you're doing. So this background is pretty blurred, so it's a little easier to do. If you were cloning something away, like if I was trying to get rid of, say, these little pieces of hair around her face, I would change this opacity even lower. So again, sample that color so that I can do it a little bit at a time. So it looks more natural. If you do it where this is 100%, you can see how fake that looks. The other thing is the hardness of the brush. So the softer it is, that means the edge is going to be soft and feathered out, versus the hard one, which is going to look like this. Okay, so there's a hard brush. Here's the softer brush. So sample that. So you can see how this one is feathered. Obviously this looks ridiculous. I'm just showing you. So to go back to the spot here that we were removing, I would make my brush a little bit slower or smaller. I want to lower this back down, and I'm still on a soft brush, okay? I'm gonna make my brush a little smaller, sample this area here. So again, the Alt key, left click on your mouse at the same time to sample that color, and then click where you want it to go, and you can see the little cross coming up. And you just have to keep sampling the color to work around the obstacles that are in your way. Okay, and then the last tool that you could use to remove an unwanted object, which is great for removing like blemishes, if there happens to be a freckle or a mole that someone doesn't want to be seen. I have to do this all the time with my kids. You know, I'm constantly bribing them with cookies and who knows what else to get them to smile, although I shouldn't get down on them too hard because they are great little models, but they will have like little crumbs on their face. So something that I will use is the spot heal brush. This isn't the greatest quality picture. I stole it off of Facebook because, I mean, it's my photo, but I took it off of Facebook because I didn't have my hard drive with me that has all my original files. So ignore that part. So spot heal brush, we're looking at about 7 down here, and it looks like a little band-aid. So if I wanted to remove, well, let me make a little spot so you can see. So let's say Vivian has a little spot here. She has a couple, you know, little things that we want to remove. So to remove those, spot heal brush here, you can adjust the size just like you did with all your other brushes, okay? And ideally you want to go as small as the spot is. And all you're going to do is just click right over top of it. And sometimes you have to, I think my brush was just slightly too small. So you can see how perfectly that cleared that up. It was like it was never there. Let me go just a little bit bigger. So if I go a little larger than the spot itself, it's going to take care of the whole thing versus having to click around several times. But you can see those spots are totally gone now. And like I said, this is great. You know, when senior pictures roll around, a lot of times, you know, kids at that age, they may have blemishes on their face. So this is a great way to clear those up. So you have, again, the marquee tool where you select an item and use the ContentAware Fill tool. You can use the clone stamp, or you can use the spot heal brush. So those are all ways to remove unwanted objects.
Thanks for watching this video. Make sure you stay connected with Urban Rhino on social media. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, comment below, and of course, subscribe to our channel.